Welcome back. At least 38 people, including women and children, have been killed after unidentified gunmen opened fire on a convoy of 200 passenger vehicles traveling through a remote area of Pakistan. The vehicles had been traveling through the tribal district of Kuram in Pakistan, close to the Afghan border, according to police in the area. A provincial spokesperson says the gunman initially targeted the convoy's police escort. Police were protecting the convoy following months of sectarian violence in the area, which has claimed dozens of lives this year. Nadeem Aslam Chaudhry, the chief secretary of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, says today's attack was a major tragedy, with the death toll likely to rise, with at least 11 people injured. The International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, former Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and Hamas military commander Mohammed Deif. Judges in the court say there are reasonable grounds that the three men bore criminal responsibility for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity during the war between Israel and Hamas. Both Israel and Hamas have rejected the allegations. The Israeli Prime Minister's office has condemned the ICC's decision as anti-Semitic, while Hamas says the warrants for Netanyahu and Gallant set an important historical precedent. The impact of these warrants will, in part, depend on whether the ICC's 124 member states, which do not include Israel or its ally, the United States, decide to enforce them or not. The family of a man shot by police in Las Vegas have demanded termination of his employment with the force. It comes after 43-year-old Brandon Durham was fatally shot by police after his 911 call for help while fighting off an intruder in the home. 26-year-old Alexander Bookman, the police officer involved, has been placed on administrative leave while the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department conducts an internal review of the November 12 incident. Durham's 15-year-old daughter said she was disgusted with Las Vegas police as they treated him like the suspect, not the victim. Police said Mr. Durham had called 911 to report that two people were shooting outside and were trying to break into his home. Officers responding to the report found cars with broken windows outside. They also noticed damage to the house and heard shouting from inside, prompting Mr. Bookman to kick down the front door to enter. Body camera footage released by the police shows Mr. Bookman walking through the home with his gun drawn, while screaming and banging can be heard out of view. The assailant, identified as 31-year-old Alejandra Bordeaux, has been arrested and charged with 4 counts, including home invasion with a deadly weapon. Meanwhile, the Venezuelan migrant has been convicted and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for murdering Laken Riley, a Georgia nursing student whose killing became a rallying cry for U.S. President-elect Donald Trump as he attacked illegal immigration during the campaign. 26-year-old Jose Ibarra, who entered the U.S. illegally, was found guilty of murder and other charges by Judge Patrick Haggard in Athens County Superior Court. As the judge read the verdict aloud, Riley's family members and friends sobbed while Ibarra sat stony-faced. Haggard heard the evidence and rendered the verdict after Ibarra waived his right to a jury trial. Prosecutors said Ibarra encountered 22-year-old Riley on the wooded trail while she was out running on February 22nd and killed her after she resisted his efforts to rape her. She was a nursing student at Augusta University in Athens.
Count 2.
None of us will ever be the same. This monster took away our chances to see Laken graduate from nursing school. He took away our ability to meet our future son-in-law. He destroyed our chances of meeting our grandchildren. And he took my best friend. He ripped away every beautiful memory we will ever be able to make with her again. This horrific individual robbed us all of our hopes and dreams for Laken. Your Honor, I'm asking you to please give Jose Ibarra the same thing he gave us when he made the choice to take Laken's life and destroy ours. He showed no mercy on Laken when she was begging for her life. There's no end to the pain and suffering that he inflicted on our family and our friends. I'm asking you to please give this monster life without any chance of parole so that he never gets the chance to hurt anyone else ever again.
There was absolutely nothing that I wouldn't do for Laken and nothing that she wouldn't do for me. Laken was my biggest protector, and I always had this sense of comfort and safety in her presence. We've been inseparable ever since the moment I was born, and I've been lost ever since she was senselessly stripped from our lives by Jose Antonio Ibarra. I now have this hole in my heart and in my life that I know will never be filled.
Really heartrending. Kenya's presidential national security advisor, Monica Juma, says her nation backs calls from Haiti for the United Nations to consider turning a current international security mission in the Caribbean nation into a formal UN peacekeeping mission. Juba told a UN Security Council meeting that Kenya, which is leading the current mission, believed a formal peacekeeping mission could bring more resources to confront an escalating gang conflict. The current mission has deployed just a fraction of troops pledged by a handful of countries and less than $100 million in its dedicated fund, while gangs have continued to make gains.
We therefore call on the Council to once again rise to the occasion and demonstrate the unity of purpose that it has recently shown when it unanimously adopted 3 Haiti-related resolutions within a span of 3 months. A peacekeeping operation will avail greater resources to the mission in a predictable and sustainable manner. It will also provide a broader platform for collaboration and participation of more partners. We must emphasize, however, that the transition from MSS to a PKO must be carefully executed to avoid any gaps that could undermine the security situation on the ground.
Let's bring in Sarah Sambasi, a Kenyan journalist who joins us from Nairobi. Sarah, it's great to see you. Why is this representative, the National Security Advisor, why is she supporting this suggestion to the United Nations? Does it have anything to do with how grave the situation on the ground is in Haiti?
Thank you for having the show. We understand that by them joining the UN, they have much more kind of space, or rather space, we can say space or more resources to operate in the ground. At this time now, the troops on the ground, we have almost 500 troops on the ground, they are struggling with so many resources, and in terms of resources to meet their demands on the ground. So if they join the UN, as they have been anticipating too, they'll be able to get more resources in terms of vehicles, cover, medical cover, and more money for the operations. It's all about resources that are being covered by the UN.
Yeah, we understand that, but sending troops to Haiti, surely Kenya must have counted the cost of this and the impact it will have on security forces back home. What has the government said regarding this?
You see, the news has come this morning that the UN rejected the attempt because Russia and China kind of vetoed the process. And it has been much more expensive for Kenya to maintain the cost since June when they went there. They hadn't expected that they will join the UN so that the UN can take over the cover in terms of the cost of operations there. As we stand now, the Minister for Finance has been in Parliament seeking for money to kind of fund the whole program on the ground. Of course, they are arguing that they will be getting a refund later on, but you see it's Kenya which is bearing the cost of all the operations on the ground now as we are speaking. It's more expensive to stay with.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, this is happening when Kenya already is going through an economic crisis. So how do people feel about the government sending off these men and whatever portion of the budget will be allotted to taking care of these troops outside of Kenya and what impacts it could have on the economy back home?
Yeah, it's expensive because even economically here we're struggling as a country. Now you see, now we have to fund another program which is on the ground. By the end of this month, we are supposed to send 400 more troops to Haiti, as according to plans. That means more expenses in terms of money and all those logistics. It's a challenge to say the least because President William Ruto hope that this program will be taken over by the UN so that now the burden can move from Kenya to them. In as much as they are going to get the refund, it's taking long to be refunded because the main financier of this program is the US. And the current scenario you see in the US with Donald Trump coming to power again is another issue which and uncertainty which is surrounding the whole program. So it's a wait and see thing.
Could the government perhaps have pulled back on this decision given the economic realities? And then now that we know that the U.S. is expecting a different president, how does the incoming president-elect feel about Kenya, first of all, as a country? Does he consider President Ruto an equal partner, in global issues? And does he consider Kenya a spot where the United Nations should fix its sights?
Well, we understand that President Ruto has spoken to Donald Trump regarding the whole program. So, and he briefed them about the whole multinational mission in the Haiti. You understand Trump has had issues to do with the Haiti immigrants to the US and all that. I believe that these are programs that was signed between government. The government can take over some programs from the drop. As we stand, the mission has a year-long deal between the UN and the Haiti mission. So it will now depend on what President Trump will have as a priority when it comes to power. He has been told what's going on, what the benefits will be there if the stabilization of Haiti fails as we stand. So it will be depending on what his advisor is telling whether he should continue the program or not, because America is the one which is largely financing the program.
Yeah, and I don't understand there are other countries that are involved in also deploying troops, joining the Kenyan troops who are in Haiti at the moment. Are they also agitating for the UN to take over the peacekeeping mission in Haiti?
Yeah, because you see the whole organization, the Latino countries, that's South American countries, they are pushing for that agenda of joining the UN. Bahamas, the Belize, then Jamaica have sent their troops, and that's advanced troops to come and assess the situation, then they can send more troops. So we're waiting to see whether they're going to send more troops as they promised, because Kenya is the one leading the program, and it's the biggest contributor in terms of troops to the ground.
So we know that, gang violence is still rife in Haiti. So how exactly are the Kenyan troops measuring success on the ground? I mean, 1 year could be extended given the realities, but ideally, this is the period of time that they have to make any impact whatsoever in Haiti. So how do they measure whatever progress is being made on the ground?
Well, we usually talk to them. We usually talk to them daily. We usually talk to the troops on the ground daily, and they usually say that they are in charge of many areas which were initially occupied by these gangs. And despite the recent kind of gains they have made in Port-au-Prince, but then they are saying that in charge and in terms of operations, schools have been opened in some areas. The roads which are blocked have been opened. The national hospital which was closed there is operational. The airport was recently closed, even up to today is closed. And then yesterday, we understand the American embassy in Haiti issued a travel advisory, which now has a bigger impact on the whole program. But then the troops on the ground are saying that they're in charge and they're equal to the kind of challenge they're facing on the ground. Because they're saying these goons or the gangs are the same gangs that you can be facing in the Kenyan slum. And here in Kenya, we have many big slums. So the same people they can be facing there, even urban warfare, they are ready for the same. So they are confident and content that they are facing the challenges as it comes and they're in charge of the programs.
But what if this mission has to be extended longer than a year? Is Kenya ready for that?
That's another challenge because they are relying on the UN itself to either extend their mandates there or not. Again, the issue of financial implications is a big problem because you see each of the troops is earning almost $1,400. That's a lot of money for Kenya to sustain. Already they have taken almost 2.2 billion of Kenyan shillings, which is much more, a lot of money in 6 months, which we can't overspend for such a program. So it's not an issue that can say Kenya can sustain itself on its own because of the expenses that are incurred on the whole program.
Cyrus, thanks again for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me on the show.
The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is still in Azerbaijan's Baku, where he's attending the COP29 meetings. Earlier today, he called on delegates to soften hard lines and compromise to reach a deal. The key goal of COP29 is to agree how much money richer developed countries should provide poorer developing ones to help them fight climate change. But a proposal released on Thursday laid bare the differences for a new global finance deal, offering two vastly different options as the closing deadline on Friday nears. Speaking at a press conference, Mr. Guterres said countries need to compromise in order to reach a deal and not insist on their original positions, and that he senses an appetite for agreement.
I think it's important that but from now on, what matters is not what was the initial position of each party. What now matters is how to find a compromise that allows for an ambitious result in relation to the new global goal, because finance is in the center of this COP, but at the same time to take into account the concerns of all other countries in relation to the different aspects that are relevant for the future of our battle against climate change. I sense an appetite for agreement, but areas of convergence are coming into focus. But let's be frank, many substantial differences are still remaining. Success is not yet guaranteed. We need a major push to get discussions over the finishing line. To deliver an ambitious and balanced package on all pending issues with a new finance goal at its heart. Failure is not an option. And so I appeal directly to ministers and negotiators. Soften hard lines. Navigate the path through your differences and keep your eyes on the bigger picture. Never forget what it is at stake. This is a COP to deliver justice in the face of climate catastrophe. I do believe that we are coming to a moment of truth. And when we come to a moment of truth, I think it's important that every side clarifies its positions and its offers.
Lack of language from the G20 in calling for a transition away.
I have just returned from the G20 summit in Rio, and COP29 was very much on the agenda. I urge G20 leaders to instruct their ministers and negotiators to secure a compromise, to secure the success of the COP, and to secure a new ambitious climate finance goal at COP29. All the best.
In the meantime, Mexico has announced a transition to net zero by 2050 at COP29. Jose Luis Saminego from the Mexican Institute for Ecology and Climate Change told a press conference there is a stronger political mandate to reduce transition. He says Mexico will update its climate plan, known as Nationally Determined Contribution, in 2025. A volcanic eruption near Iceland's capital late on Wednesday was caused by a very rapid progression of events, and the 10th such event in the area in 3 years. So says leader of the Nordic Volcanological Center at the University of Iceland, Rike Pedersen. The eruption sent fountains of lava and smoke into the airport. Although there were no disruptions to air traffic or major infrastructure, there had been little warning in terms of seismic activity compared to previous eruptions in Reykjanes Peninsula. The first signs of an eruption were recorded just 45 minutes before a massive ground fissure, now estimated to be around 3 kilometers long, was opened by magma forcing its way through the Earth's crust.
Last night at about 10:30, we had earthquake activity commencing again close to the eruption site from previous eruptions. So the same fissure that has been active throughout 24. Also, there was a pressure increase in the boreholes, and that means we have a dike intrusion progressing, and the eruption started at 11:15. So it was a very rapid progression of events. We knew that the pressure in the magma chamber feeding these eruptions were about at the level where we could expect an eruption. So everyone was prepared, and all evacuations occurred smoothly. So what happened this morning at 9 o'clock was that the power lines were broken. The electricity supply has been destroyed because of the heat from the lava has simply melted or affected the lines. And now there's no electricity in Grindavik, but there was emergency power immediately at Svartsengi. So the hot water supply is still intact because they have a different source of electricity in effect.
Country Director for the UK's Department for Business and Trade here in Nigeria, Mark Smithson, believes the UK is uniquely placed to partner with Nigeria to raise awareness and tackle emerging threats and cybersecurity challenges facing both countries. He was speaking in Abuja, Nigeria's capital city, at the Cybersecurity Stakeholder Roundtable organized with support from the UK's Department for Business and Trade. Participants, including top cybersecurity and tech experts, emphasized the need to foster a synergized approach to addressing Nigeria's cybersecurity challenges, among other things. Commenting at the event, the Director General of the National Information Technology Development Agency, Kashifu Abdullahi, stressed the importance of actively safeguarding digital sovereignty. Mali's military leader, Colonel Assimi Goita, has sacked the Prime Minister, Choguel Mayaga, and his government. This was after Mayaga had criticized the junta for lack of clarity about a once-promised return to democracy. The government had promised to hold elections and hand back power to civilians by March 2024, but postponed the vote. Mali endured years of jihadist violence before military coups in 2020 and 2021. And with no end in sight to the civil war in Sudan, the country's footballers have offered a glimmer of hope to their compatriots thanks to their unlikely qualification for next year's Africa Cup of Nations. Conflict between the Sudanese army and the Rapid Support Forces militia began in April last year and has forced over 11 million people from their homes. Aid workers say it has created the world's worst humanitarian crisis, with the leading cause of death across the country being preventable disease and starvation. Yet, despite that backdrop, the Falcons of Jedian will represent their nation at the 2025 AFCON in Morocco.
Sudanese fans waving flags, cheering and lighting up the sky with fireworks on the streets of Libya's Benghazi, where the team had been playing due to the ongoing war in Sudan. The national team qualified for Africa Cup of Nations after a goalless draw against Angola, which saw them finish second in their group.
Today, I'm excited, extremely happy that we qualified for the African Cup despite the circumstances that Sudan is going through. I mean, we are very, very happy.
Sudan needed 1 point in order to qualify from their group, which they achieved after drawing with already qualified Angola.
We say 1,000 congratulations to our Sudanese team, and despite the harshness of the war, thank God we qualified for the next round. We say the best is yet to come. And greetings to all the Sudanese team, and from here, we salute them and say to them, 1,000 congratulations.
At the Sudanese consul's house in Benghazi, the national team players also celebrate. Coach James Appiah says the competition had been really difficult because of the war.
Since we started the competition, it's been really difficult because of the war in Sudan. So I decided that since there is no league as well in Sudan, I need to make sure I pick some players from Hilal and Merrick.
And as citizens jubilate in Libya, back home in Port Sudan, a sports shop owner is making more sales as a result of the football matches.
Whenever there is a match for the national team, sales increase. The T-shirts are not enough for the demand. We ask God for progress for the national team and for lifting people's spirits. People are extremely disheartened, and that's why the team have greatly uplifted our morale and made us forget the war.
Sudan has been locked in a brutal civil war with the army and the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, a paramilitary group that has been trying to seize control of the country from its army being led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. The country won AFCON when they hosted the tournament in 1970, but have advanced beyond the group stage of the competition only once and have qualified for just 3 of the most recent 24 editions of the tournament. Morocco will host the next one, which is scheduled to begin on December the 21st, 2025, and run until January 18, 2026. Sudan joins over 20 other African countries at the tournament.
Congratulations to the team. Australia has introduced a bill in Parliament that aims to ban social media for children under the age of 16 and proposed fines of up to 49.5 million Australian dollars for social media platforms for systemic breaches. The country plans to trial an age verification system that may include biometrics or government identification to enforce a social media age cutoff, some of the toughest controls imposed by any country to date. The proposals are the highest age limit set by any country and would have no exemption for parental consent and no exemption for pre-existing accounts. A number of countries have already vowed to curb social media use by children through legislation, but Australia's policy is one of the most stringent.
For too many young Australians, social media can be harmful. Almost 2/3 of 14 to 17-year-old Australians have viewed extremely harmful content online, including drug abuse, suicide or self-harm, as well as violent material. Social media has a social responsibility. We know they can and should do better to address harms on their platforms. That's why we're making big changes to hold platforms to account for user safety. This bill will impose significant penalties for breaching the minimum age obligation. This will be as high as $49.5 million for bodies corporate, consistent with serious offences set out in the Privacy Act 1988 and the Competition and Consumer Act 2010.
Today is Guinness World Records Day celebration. The tallest woman and shortest woman had tea this week together in London. They were honored by the record-breaking experts as icons. At 2 meters and 15.16 centimeters, Rumisia Gelgi, a researcher from Turkey, towered over Joyti Amge, an actor from India who stands at just 62.8 centimeters. I wish you could see that. The height difference proved no barrier, with the pair enjoying each other's company at the meetup in Savoy Hotel. But here in Nigeria, Nigerians have been put on the spotlight severally. It's all thanks to those amazing, incredible individuals amongst us doing ordinary things extraordinarily. Take a look.
Nigerian wig maker Helen Williams has not just one but 4 counts of breaking the Guinness World Records thanks to her wig crafting skills. She broke her first Guinness World Record in July 2023 when she made the longest handmade wig at a length of 351.28 meters. That's 1,152 feet, 5 inches. Just a few months later, in February of 2024, she created the widest wig, which measured at 3.65 meters, 11 feet by 11 inches. Adding to her collection of titles in July, she breaks the record of the most hair clips in a wig in 30 seconds with a total of 94. Then she claimed the title for most hair clips on the head in 30 seconds with a total of 97 in August. Helen started her business on her own in Lagos, but now has a whole team working for her. Nigerian doctor and visual artist Fola David made history by surpassing the existing Guinness World Record for the world's largest drawing by individual. The massive artwork, spanning an impressive 850 square meters, emerged from spending 6 days on the peace spread across a stadium in Lagos, Nigeria. His record of 850 square meters surpassed the previous record of 629.98 square meters held by Ravi Soni from India. Nigerian multifaceted chef Hilda Bassi became a household name in the country when she was declared the Guinness World Record holder for the longest cooking marathon in the world. In 2023, tagged the Cookathon, the chef cooked for almost a week, cooking over 100 pots of food. Her cooking expenditure amounted to 100 hours. However, Guinness World Record logged her record at 93 hours 11 minutes, docking her 7 hours for taking a longer break than allowed on one occasion. Notable Nigerian disc jockey DJ Obi gained mainstream attention after breaking the Guinness World Record for the longest DJ set in 2016, spinning for an incredible 10 days straight. And last but not the least is veteran Nigerian dancer and choreographer Kafayat Shafau Ame, better known as Kafi. Kafi first came into limelight after setting the Guinness World Record in 2006 for the longest dance party at the Nokia Silverbird Dance-a-thon. The rest, they say, is history, as she has since made a great impact on the dance scene, owning her own fitness studio and adding more skillful feathers to her hat.
So we're looking at Joyti Amge, the actor from India, who is the world's shortest woman. She's just 62.8 centimeters tall, as she's meeting the world's tallest woman, who is Rumisia Gelgi, who stands at 2 meters and 15.16 centimeters tall, a researcher from Turkey. History in the making. As we end the world today with our really incredible stories, what has a banana to do with art? It seems if you put a duct tape around it, you could have an art piece. And that's what Italian visual artist Maurizio Catalan conceived recently, only this time it's a banana duct taped to a wall. Thankfully, no one was hungry at the Sotheby's auction, or they would have ruined the piece. It fetched a whopping $6.2 million. That's the world today. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani.